The stars around Earth burned with enemy fire. Commander Taeho Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching death come from the darkness. His ship shook as another blast hit their shields. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. "Shield power at 30%, shouted Lieutenant Nari Yang from her station. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook as she worked the controls. Taeho looked at the main screen. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded Earth like angry wasps. The Vorthok Empire had come to destroy humanity. Their dark ships were huge and covered with glowing weapons. Each one was bigger than 3 human ships put together. "Sir, we have lost contact with the Seoul and the Busan," reported Captain Dong Hyan Choi. His fighter pilots were doing their best, but the enemy had too many ships. Admiral Ji Woo Lee's voice came through the speakers from the command station. "All ships, fall back to the inner defense line. We must protect Earth at all costs." Taeho knew the truth. They were losing badly. The human fleet had 47 ships left. The Vorthok had over 400. The math was simple and deadly. Dr. Sojin Park walked up to Taeho. Her face was pale with worry. "Commander, I am reading strange energy patterns from the Vorthok flagship. I think they are preparing something big." Through the viewport, Taeho could see Earth hanging in space. Like a blue jewel, cities glowed on the night side. 3 billion people lived down there. His wife and daughter were in Seoul. They trusted him to keep them safe. "All fighters, attack pattern Delta," ordered Captain Dong Hyan Choi. His small ships flew like birds between the giant enemy vessels. They fired their weapons, but it was like throwing stones at a mountain. The Vorthok ships moved closer to Earth, their weapons charged with bright energy. Taeho had seen what those weapons could do. They had turned the colony world of New Jeju into burning glass. Commander Nari Yang turned around with wide eyes. "The Vorthok flagship is powering up their planet cracker weapon." Taeho felt his blood turn cold. A planet cracker could make Earth uninhabitable. It would boil the oceans and burn the air. Everything would die. "All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship," he ordered. But he knew it would not work. Their weapons were too weak. The enemy flagship was massive, bigger than a small moon. It had thick armor and powerful shields. The human ships fired everything they had, but their shots bounced off like raindrops. Admiral Ji Woo Lee's voice came again. "Saturn now. All ships. This is Admiral Lee. It has been an honor to serve with you. Fight until the end." Taeho closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of his daughter's smile. He thought of the cherry blossoms in Seoul's parks. He thought of everything they were about to lose. "Sir," Nari Young jumped up from her chair. "I am reading a massive energy signature coming from the outer system." "What kind of signature?" asked Dr. Sojin Park, running to the sensor station. "I do not know. It is huge, bigger than anything we have ever seen. It is moving very fast, toward us." Taeho looked at the display. A red dot moved across the screen, toward their position. The computer said it was traveling at impossible speed. "Could it be more Vorthok ships?" asked Captain Dong Hyan Choi. Dr. Sojin Park shook her head. "No, this energy pattern is different. It is not like their technology at all. It is not like our technology either." The Vorthok flagship finished charging its planet cracker weapon. The massive gun pointed at Earth. In seconds, everything would be over. "Contact in 10 seconds, reported Nari Yang. The space around them suddenly filled with bright light. Something huge appeared between Earth and the Vorthok fleet. It had been invisible, but now they could see it clearly. The ship was enormous. It was twice as big as the Vorthok flagship. Its hull was dark metal with strange glowing lines. Most surprising of all, it had human markings on its side, but the design was unlike anything in the human fleet. "What is that?" whispered Captain Dong Han Choi. Dr. Sojin Park stared at her readings. "The energy output is incredible. This ship has power levels I have never seen before." The mystery ship turned toward the Vorthok fleet. Weapons appeared along its hull. They were not like human weapons or Vorthok weapons. They glowed with blue-white energy. "All human ships. This is Captain Minho Shin of the UES Prometheus. Move away from the enemy fleet immediately." Taeho looked at his crew in confusion. The UES Prometheus was a colony ship that had disappeared 200 years ago. How could it be here now? And how did it become so powerful? "You heard the order," said Admiral Ji Woo Lee over the radio. "All ships, pull back." The human fleet moved away from the Vorthok ships. The aliens seemed confused by the appearance of the huge vessel. Their weapons turned toward the new threat. The Prometheus fired its weapons. What happened next was impossible to believe. Beams of pure energy cut through space. They hit the Vorthok shields and went right through them like they were not there. Enemy ships exploded in bright flashes. In seconds, 20 Vorthok vessels turned into debris. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Sojin Park. "Their shields should have stopped those weapons." The Vorthok fleet tried to fight back. Hundreds of energy beams struck the Prometheus. But the mystery ship's shields held easily. It fired again, destroying more enemy vessels. The Vorthok flagship turned its planet cracker weapon toward the Prometheus. The massive beam hit the unknown ship directly. Everyone on the Defiance held their breath. When the light faded, the Prometheus was still there. Its shields glowed but held strong. "Vorthok vessels, this is your only warning," came Captain Minho Shin's voice. "Leave this system now or be destroyed." The alien fleet began to retreat. Ship after ship jumped to hyperspace. In minutes, only debris remained where the mighty Vorthok armada had been. Tahoe stared at the Prometheus in wonder and fear. Who were these people? How did they have such advanced technology? And why did they appear just when humanity needed them most, Commander? Said Nari Yang quietly. "I am receiving a message from the Prometheus. Captain Shin wants to speak with you personally." Tahoe nodded slowly. "Put him through." The screen showed a man in a uniform that looked human but was different from anything in the current fleet. Captain Minho Shin had dark eyes that seemed very old and tired. "Commander Kim," said the captain, "we need to talk. There are things you need to know about what is coming. The Vorthok will return, and next time they will bring everything they have." "Who are you?" asked Tahoe. "How do you have such weapons?" Captain Minho Shin was quiet for a long moment. "That is a long story, Commander, and not all of it will be easy to believe. May I come aboard your ship?" Tahoe looked at his crew. They had just been saved by a ghost ship with impossible technology. Nothing made sense anymore. "Permission granted," he said finally. The mystery was just beginning. Captain Minho Shin stepped onto the bridge of the Defiance. He wore a uniform that looked human but was different from anything Commander Tahoe Kim had ever seen. The fabric seemed to shimmer with tiny lights. His boots made no sound on the metal floor. "Thank you for seeing me, Commander," said Captain Shin. His voice was calm, but his eyes looked very tired. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much war. Tahoe studied the stranger carefully. "Your ship saved us, but I need answers. The Prometheus disappeared 200 years ago. How are you here?" Captain Shin was quiet for a moment. It is not an easy question to answer. May I speak with your senior officers?" "They are already here," said Tahoe. He pointed to the others on the bridge. "Dr. Sojin Park, our science officer. Lieutenant Nari Yang, communications. Captain Dong Hyan Choi, fighter squadron leader." A woman in the same strange uniform walked onto the bridge behind Captain Shin. Half of her face had metal parts built into it. Her left eye glowed with blue light. "This is Engineer Hyjin Kong," said Captain Shin. "She helps keep our ship running." Dr. Sojin Park stared at the woman's metal parts. "Those are cybernetic implants. But that technology is still expanding and all. How do you have such advanced modifications?" Engineer Hyjin Kong smiled. But it was a sad smile. "We had to adapt to survive. The war changed us in many ways." "What war?" asked Tahoe. "The war with the Vorthok just started." Captain Shin and Engineer Kang looked at each other. Something passed between them that the others did not understand. "Commander Kim," said Captain Shin, "I need to show you something. Will you come aboard the Prometheus with your officers?" Tahoe did not trust easily, but these people had saved Earth. "Very well, but I want to bring Colonel Subin Chen from military intelligence." "Of course," said Captain Shin. An hour later, Tahoe and his team took a shuttle to the Prometheus. As they got closer, the ship looked even more impossible. It was covered in armor that seemed to move and change. Weapons appeared and disappeared along its hull, like living things. "The hull is made of smart metal," explained Engineer Hyjin Kong. "It can repair itself and change shape as needed." They docked inside a bay that was bigger than most human ships. Strange lights moved in patterns along the walls. The air smelled different, like ozone after lightning. Dr. Sojin Park took readings with her scanner. "The energy levels here are incredible. What powers this ship?" "Something that does not exist in your time yet," said Captain Shin. "Follow me." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Crew members passed them in the hallways. All of them had some kind of modification. Some had metal arms. Others had electronic eyes. A few had skin that glowed with soft light. "What happened to them?" whispered Lieutenant Naryang. "The same thing that happened to all of us," said Engineer Hyjin Kong. "We became what we needed to fight the Vorthok." They entered a room filled with computers and displays. Dr. Woojin Lim looked up from his work. He was studying pieces of Vorthok technology. His hands moved too fast to be normal human hands. "This is Dr. Lim, our expert on alien technology," said Captain Shin. "He has spent many years learning how the Vorthok think." Colonel Subin Chen stepped forward. "I need to ask some hard questions. Your ship has registration codes from 200 years ago, but it uses technology that should not exist. Who are you really?" Captain Shin sat down at a table. "Please, sit. This will take some time to explain." They all sat down. Captain Shin touched a control, and the room darkened. Images appeared in the air above the table. They showed space battles, burning planets, and destroyed cities. "This is the war as it happened in our timeline," said Captain Shin. "The Vorthok did not retreat when we defeated them today. They called for help from across their empire. In 6 months, they returned with 10,000 ships. The images showed Earth covered in fire. Human ships exploded in space. Cities turned to ash. Earth fell. continued Captain Shin. The colonies fell, one by one. Humanity was scattered to the far edges of space. We became refugees, then slaves, then something else entirely. Dr. Sojin Park leaned forward. You are saying you are from the future. Not exactly the future, said Engineer Haijin Kang. We are from a different timeline, one where humanity lost the war. The images changed to show humans living in asteroid mines and hidden bases. They looked different from modern humans. Stronger, more machine than flesh. We spent 300 years learning to survive, said Captain Shin. The Vorthok used us as workers in their mines and factories, but we never stopped fighting. We never stopped learning. How did you develop this technology? Asked Dr. Wu Jin Lim. We stole it piece by piece, said Dr. Lim from the Prometheus crew. Every Vorthok ship we destroyed, every base we raided, we learned more. We became experts at their technology. Then we made it better. Colonel Su Ben Chen crossed her arms. This is impossible. Time travel does not exist. Captain Shin smiled sadly. Time travel is very difficult and very dangerous. It took us 50 years to build the device that brought us here. Many good people died testing it. Why come back? Asked Taeho. Why not stay in your own time and keep fighting? Because we discovered something terrible, said Captain Shin. The images changed to show a massive structure in space. It was bigger than a moon and covered with strange rings. The Vorthok Empire exists in many timelines. They conquer species across different realities. This is their Chronos Gate. It lets them coordinate attacks across time and space. Engineer Haijin Kong stood up. They have been doing this for thousands of years. Humanity is not their first victim. We are just the latest. So you came back to warn us? Asked Lieutenant Nari Yang. We came back to change history, said Captain Shin. In our timeline, humanity never had a chance. The Vorthok surprised us completely. But now you know they are coming. Now you can prepare. Dr. Park looked at the images of the Chronos Gate. How do we fight something like that? Very carefully, said Dr. Lim, and with weapons they do not expect. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. A crew member ran into the room. Captain, long-range sensors detect a massive fleet jumping into the outer system. It is the Vorthok Imperial Armada. Captain Shin stood up quickly. How many ships? Over 8,000, sir. And they are led by Emperor Thexkar himself. The room became very quiet. Even the crew of the Prometheus looked worried. Who is Emperor? Thexkar asked Tae-Ho. Captain Shin's face went pale. The most dangerous being in the Vorthok Empire. He only comes when he wants to destroy something completely. And now he knows about us. What does that mean? Asked Colonel Subin. Jeon. Engineer Haijin Kong walked to the window and looked out at the stars. It means they are not just here to conquer humanity anymore. They want to destroy the Prometheus and everyone on it. They are afraid of what we represent. What do we represent? Asked Dr. Sojin Park. Captain Shin joined Engineer Kang at the window. Hope, the one thing the Vorthok cannot control or destroy. And now they know that somewhere, somehow, humanity learned to fight back. The lights in the room flickered as the ship's power systems prepared for battle. The real war is about to begin, said Captain Shin quietly. The Vorthok Imperial Armada filled the outer system like a dark cloud. Commander Taeho Kim stood in the war room of the Prometheus, staring at the tactical display. 8,000 enemy ships moved toward Earth in perfect formation. Emperor Thexkar's flagship is the size of a small moon, said Captain Minho Shin. It carries enough firepower to destroy entire solar systems. Dr. Sojin Park worked at a computer station. Our combined fleets have less than 50 ships. How can we possibly fight 8,000? Numbers are not everything, said Commander Thujano as she entered the room. She was another member of the Prometheus crew. Her uniform had marks that showed she was an expert in temporal warfare. We have advantages they do not expect. Taeho studied the new officer. What kind of advantages? We know how they think, said Commander Thujin. Oh, we spent 3 centuries fighting them. We know their tactics, their weaknesses, their fears. Captain Minho Shin activated a hologram, showing the Vorthok fleet. In our timeline, Emperor Thexkar used the same attack pattern against 12 different species. He always wins because he is predictable. Predictable can be beaten, said Sergeant Jamin Ha as he joined them. His left arm was completely mechanical, and his right eye glowed with electronic light. But we will need help from your people. Lieutenant Nara Yang looked at the sergeant with interest. What kind of help? Your ships are fast and small, explained Sergeant Jamin Ha. Our ship is powerful but slow. Together, we can use tactics they have never seen before. Admiral Ji Wuli's voice came through the communication system. All ships. This is Admiral Li. Prepare for emergency conference. We have a situation. The meeting room filled with holographic images of ship captains from across the human fleet. They all looked worried as they saw the enemy numbers. The Vorthok have sent a message, said Admiral Ji Wuli. They want to talk. Captain Minho Shin shook his head. It is a trap. They always offer to talk before they attack. What do they want? Asked Captain Dong Hien Choi. They want us to surrender the Prometheus and its crew, said Admiral G. Lee. In exchange, they promised to spare Earth. The room became very quiet. Everyone knew the Vorthok never kept their promises. They lie, said Dr. Bo-young Kim, as she appeared in the room. She was an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes. I designed the time travel technology that brought us here. The Vorthok cannot be trusted. You created time travel? Asked Dr. Sojin Park with amazement. I had too, said Dr. Bo-young Kim. Sadly, in our timeline, I watched my children die when Earth fell. I spent my whole life trying to find a way to save them. Taeho felt a chill. Your children died in the war. Everyone's children died, said Major Kung-ho Park, another officer from the future. The Vorthok do not take prisoners. They destroy everything that might threaten them later. That is why we came back, said Captain Minho Shin. Not just to save this timeline, but to end the Vorthok Empire forever. Dr. Sojin Park looked at the tactical display. How do we end an empire that spans multiple realities? We destroy their Chronos Gate, said Dr. Bo-young Kim. Without it, they cannot coordinate their attacks across timelines. Each reality will have to fight them separately. Where is this gate? Asked Admiral Ji Woo Lee. Commander The Gino touched a control, and the hologram changed. It showed a massive structure floating in empty space. It exists outside normal spacetime. The only way to reach it is through one of their temporal portals. The Vorthok fleet has portal generators, explained Major King-ho Park. If we can capture one, we can reach the Chronos Gate. Taeho studied the battle plan forming in his mind. So we need to defeat 8,000 ships and capture their portal technology. Yes, said Captain Minho Shin, simply. That is impossible, said Captain Dong Hien Choi. Sergeant Jamin Ha smiled. We have done impossible things before. That is how we survived 3 centuries of slavery. Lieutenant Nari Yang looked at the sergeant with admiration. What was it like, living under Vorthok rule? Terrible, said Sergeant Jamin Ha quietly. I was born in the ruins of Seoul. The sky was always red from the fires. We lived underground like rats. The Vorthok used us to mine crystals on dead worlds. But you never gave up, said Nari Yang. Humans never give up, said Commander Thejino. That is what the Vorthok fear most about us. Other species surrender when they are beaten. Humans just get angry and fight harder. Dr. Bo-young Kim activated another display. This is why Emperor Vexker came personally. In every timeline where the Vorthok fought humans, we eventually found a way to hurt them. Even when we lost, we made them pay a price. What kind of price? Asked Dr. Sojin Park. In one timeline, humans poisoned their water supplies before Earth fell, said Major Kyung-ho Park. In another, we sent virus bombs that destroyed their food production. They won, but millions of Vorthok died. We are the only species that has ever made them afraid, said Captain Minho Shin with pride. Suddenly, the ship shook from a massive impact. Red warning lights flashed throughout the room. Report, ordered Captain Minho Shin. Engineer Haijin Kong's voice came through the speakers. The Vorthok have deployed temporal disruptors. They are trying to unravel our timeline. Dr. Bo-young Kim ran to a control station. If they succeed, both timelines will cease to exist. Everyone we are trying to save will be erased from reality. The ship shook again, harder this time. Through the viewports, they could see space itself beginning to twist and bend. Stars flickered like candles in the wind. How long do we have? Asked Taeho. 6 hours at most, said Dr. Bo-young Kim. After that, the timeline collapse will be permanent. Admiral Ji Woo Lee's voice came through the communicator, full of static. All ships, prepare for immediate attack. We cannot wait any longer. The Vorthok are not waiting either, reported Commander Thejin. Oh, their entire fleet is moving toward Earth. They plan to finish this quickly. Taeho looked around the room. At all the faces, some were from his time, some from the future. All of them were afraid, but none of them were ready to give up. What are our chances? He asked honestly. Captain Minho Shin was quiet for a moment. In our timeline, when Earth fell, the final battle lasted 3 days. We destroyed over 2,000 Vorthok ships before we lost. And this time? Asked Lieutenant Nari Yang. This time we know what we are doing, said Sergeant Jamin Ha. This time we have a plan. Dr. Bo-young Kim looked up from her controls. This time we fight for 2 timelines instead of 1. That makes us twice as strong. The ship shook again as reality bent around them. Time was running out. All hands, battle stations, ordered Captain Minho Shin. Today we find out if hope is stronger than fear. Taeho looked out at the approaching enemy fleet. 8,000 ships against 50. Impossible odds. But humans had faced impossible odds before. Let's show them why they should fear us, he said quietly. The final battle was about to begin. The space around Earth twisted like water in a storm. Commander Taeho Kim watched from the bridge of the Defiance as reality itself began to break apart. Stars moved in impossible directions. Time flowed backward and forward at the same time. Timeline. Collapse in 4 hours, reported Dr. Bo-young Kim over the radio. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the fear underneath. Captain Minho Shin's voice came through the speakers to all human ships. This is our last chance. If we fail, both timelines die. Everyone we ever loved will never have existed. The Vorthok fleet moved toward Earth like a wall of death. Emperor Thexkar's flagship led the attack, its weapons charging with terrible energy. Behind it, 8,000 ships prepared to destroy everything. All fighters, this is Captain Dongan Choi. We fly together, we die together. For Earth, hundreds of small human fighters launched from their carriers. They looked like tiny insects next to the massive alien ships, but they flew with courage that giants could not match. Lieutenant Nari Yang worked at her station, coordinating between the present and future fleets. Sergeant Jamin Ha, your people are in position. Ready? Came the reply from Sergeant Jamin. Ha! His voice was steady, despite the impossible odds. The future fighters are armed with temporal weapons. We will hit them where they do not expect. Admiral Ji Woo Lee's flagship, the Seoul, took the lead of the present-day fleet. All ships, maximum speed, we punch through their line and go for the portal generators. The two fleets met in a storm of fire and light. Human ships darted between the massive Vorthok vessels like angry wasps. The aliens fired their weapons. But the humans were too fast and too angry to be easily hit. Captain Yoon Suro piloted humanity's first prototype temporal fighter. Her ship could phase in and out of time, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. I have a clean shot at their portal ship. Take it, ordered Admiral Chang Wook-yoon, who had just arrived with the Outer Colonies fleet. Captain Yoon Suro's fighter vanished from normal space and reappeared inside the Vorthok portal ship. Her weapons fired from within, destroying the alien vessel from the inside. Portal generator captured, she reported, but I am trapped inside their debris field. We are coming for you, shouted Captain Dong Han Choi, leading his fighters toward her position. Meanwhile, the Prometheus fought alone against Emperor Thexkar's flagship. The two giant ships exchanged fire that lit up the darkness. Captain Minho Shin stood on his bridge, watching his ship take terrible damage. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, reported Engineer Hai Jin Kong. We cannot take much more. Of this we do not need to survive, said Captain Minho Shin quietly. We just need to buy time for the others. Dr. Sojin Park worked frantically in the science lab, trying to understand the captured portal technology. I think I can modify it to reach the Chronos Gate, but someone needs to fly it there manually. I will go, said Dr. Bo Young Kim immediately. No, said Major Kung Ho Park. You are needed here to keep the timeline stable. I will take the portal ship. The battle raged around them. Human ships exploded in bright flashes, but they kept fighting. The Vorthok lost hundreds of vessels, but they had thousands more. Admiral Ji Woo Lee's voice came over the radio. Weaker now. My ship is badly damaged. I cannot continue much longer. Hold on, called Taeho. We are almost through their line. But even as he spoke, he knew they were losing. Too many human ships were gone. Too many good people had died. Then something unexpected happened. Captain Yoon Suro's fighter reappeared in normal space, but it was different. It glowed with temporal energy and seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. I am reading impossible energy signatures, reported Lieutenant Nari Yang. Her ship has been changed by the portal technology. I can see the Chronos Gate, said Captain Yoon Suro with wonder in her voice. It is beautiful and terrible, and I know how to destroy it. How? Asked Dr. Bo Young Kim. I phased the portal ship into the gate's temporal core. The explosion will collapse their entire interdimensional network. That is suicide, said Sergeant Jamin Ha. We are all going to die anyway, said Captain Yoon Suro calmly. At least this way, our death will mean something. Emperor Thexkar's flagship suddenly stopped firing at the Prometheus. The alien emperor had heard the human communications. He knew what they planned. All ships, stop the portal ship, came the alien emperor's voice. Full of fear and rage, thousands of Vorthok weapons turned toward Captain Yoon Suro's fighter. But the other human ships formed a protective wall around her. Not today, said Admiral Ji Woo Lee. Her damaged flagship moved directly into the path of the enemy fire. For humanity, the Seoul exploded in a ball of light, taking dozens of Vorthok ships with it. Admiral Ji Woo Lee died as she had lived, protecting others. Admiral, cried Taeho, but there was no time to grieve. Captain Yoon Suro's fighter began to phase between dimensions. I can see the gate clearly now. Beginning final approach. Wait, said Dr. Bo Young Kim. If you destroy the gate, our timeline might disappear too. Then we will die knowing we saved the future, said Captain Minho Shin. That is enough. The Prometheus turned toward Emperor Thexkar's flagship one last time. All power to weapons, ordered Captain Minho Shin. We end this. The two giant ships collided in an explosion that could be seen from Earth. Both vessels died together. Locked in a final embrace of destruction, Captain Yoon Suro's fighter reached the Chronos Gate. The massive structure filled her view screen, larger than anything she had ever imagined. Rings of energy spun around a core of pure time. For everyone who will live, because we fought, she said quietly. Then she activated the phase drive. Her ship merged with the gate's temporal core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality screamed. The explosion ripped through dimensions. The Chronos Gate collapsed, taking the entire Vorthok interdimensional network with it. Across thousands of timelines, the alien empire suddenly found itself cut off and alone. The surviving Vorthok ships and Earth's system stopped fighting. Without their connection to the empire, they were just ordinary vessels, far from home and badly outnumbered by human anger. "Surrender," said General Hain Ruscio, who had led the ground forces in the defense. "Or join your emperor." One by one, the alien ships gave up. As timeline stability returned, the crew of the Prometheus began to fade like ghosts. Their mission was complete, and their timeline was healing. "Thank you," said Taeho to the fading image of Captain Minho Shin. "Thank the future," said the captain with a smile. "Make it worth our sacrifice." 10 years later, Admiral Taeho Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Hope, humanity's first ship built with recovered future technology. The stars were peaceful now, and human colonies grew stronger every day. "Admiral," said Captain Nari Yang, who had been promoted after the war, "we have received a message probe from deep space." The message was from Captain Minho Shin, recorded just before his final battle. It contained complete technical specifications for all the future technology and ended with simple words: "For all the timelines where we could not save them, for all the futures where humanity thrives. The universe is yours now. Make it count." Taeho smiled as he looked out at the stars. Humanity had won the greatest victory in their history. They had defeated an empire that spanned multiple realities, and they had done it by never giving up hope. The future was bright, and it belonged to them. 20 years had passed since the great battle that saved humanity. Admiral Taeho Kim, now gray-haired but still strong, walked through the corridors of the massive space station New Hope. It orbited Earth like a bright star, home to 50,000 people from across the galaxy. Admiral called Captain Nori Yang as she approached. She wore the uniform of the Temporal Defense Corps, a new branch of the military created to protect reality itself. "We have a situation." Taeho stopped and turned to his old friend. "What kind of situation?" "Long-range sensors have detected something strange in the outer colonies. Ships that do not match any known design. They appear to be ... human." They walked together toward the command center. The station buzzed with activity. Humans worked alongside former Vorthok prisoners who had chosen to stay after the war. The aliens had adapted well to peaceful life, using their advanced knowledge to help rebuild the galaxy. "Could it be more survivors from other timelines?" asked Taeho. "That is what we need to find out," said Nari Yang. In the command center, Dr. Sojin Park stood before a large display screen. She was older now, but her eyes still held the same curiosity they had during the war. Her research into temporal technology had made her one of the most respected scientists in human space. "Admiral, look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "These ships appeared near the Kepler colony 3 days ago. They match no known design, but they are sending signals in Old Korean." Taeho studied the images. The ships were beautiful, made of materials that seemed to glow with inner light. They were clearly advanced, but their design was somehow familiar. "Have they tried to communicate?" he asked. Dr. Sojin Park nodded. "They sent a message requesting permission to land. They claimed to be from the Kim family line, descendants of someone named Admiral Taeho Kim." Taeho felt his heart skip. "By descendants? But how is that possible?" "We think they might be from a timeline where humanity developed differently after the war," explained Dr. Sojin Park. "A timeline where your family became explorers instead of soldiers." Captain Donghae Choi, now a general in charge of the Outer Colony's defense force, appeared on the communication screen. "Admiral, I am at Kepler colony now. These people, they look human, but they are different, taller, stronger, and their technology is incredible." "Different how?" asked Nari Yang. "They seem to be adapted for space travel. Their skin can handle radiation that would kill us. Their eyes can see in multiple dimensions. They claim they have been traveling between realities for generations, looking for their home timeline." Taeho made a decision. "I want to meet them. Prepare the Hope Stream for immediate departure." 3 days later, Taeho stood on the bridge of his personal ship as it approached Kepler colony. The mysterious vessels waited in orbit, their hulls shimmering with colors that had no names. "Incoming transmission," reported Lieutenant Wonsu Moon, the young communications officer. The screen showed a woman who looked remarkably like Taeho's daughter, but with silver hair and eyes that glowed. With soft light, she wore clothing made of what appeared to be liquid starlight. "Greetings, Admiral Kim," she said in perfect Korean. "I am Captain Sumin Kim, leader of the Void Wanderers. We have traveled far to find you. You claim to be my descendant," said Taeho carefully. "From which timeline?" "From the timeline where humanity became nomads of space," replied Captain Sumin Kim. "After the great victory against the Vorthok Empire, my ancestors chose to explore the infinite realities rather than settle on worlds. We have been traveling for 200 years, seeking our origin point." Dr. Sojin Park stepped forward. What do you want from us? Captain Suman Kim's expression grew serious. We bring a warning. The Vorthok Empire is rebuilding. In the far reaches of space, beyond the edge of known reality, Emperor Thexkar's son has gathered the scattered fleets. He calls himself the Void Emperor, and he has sworn to destroy every human in every timeline. The bridge became very quiet. Taeho had hoped the war was truly over. How do you know this? Asked Nari Yang. Because we have been fighting him for 50 years, said Captain Suman Kim. The Void Wanderers are not just explorers. We are also guardians, protecting timelines from threats that exist between realities. The screen changed to show a massive fleet of dark ships moving through twisted space. At their center was a vessel that dwarfed even the original Emperor's flagship. The Void Emperor has learned from his father's mistakes, continued Captain Suman Kim. He does not attack directly. Instead, he sends reality viruses that corrupt timelines from within. Worlds forget their own history. People lose their memories of who they are. Taeho studied the alien fleet. How many ships does he have? Hundreds of thousands. Spread across multiple dimensions, said Captain Suman Kim. But numbers are not his greatest weapon. He has developed technology that can erase entire timelines without fighting a single battle. Dr. Sojin Park looked worried. How do we fight something like that? By working together, said Captain Suman Kim. The Void Wanderers have mapped over 3,000 human time. In each one, humanity won the war against the original Vorthok Empire. But alone, none of us can defeat the Void Emperor. A new voice joined the conversation. That is why we are here, too. Another ship appeared on the sensors. This one was familiar. It looked like the Prometheus, but newer and more advanced. This is Admiral Young-Ho Park of the Temporal Republic. Came the voice. We represent the alliance of 17 human timelines that have banded together to fight the Void Emperor. Taeho looked at Nari Yang in amazement. How many versions of humanity are there? Thousands, said Admiral Young-Ho Park. In some timelines, humans became a peaceful trading empire. In others, they developed psychic powers. In a few, they learned to live as pure energy. But all of them remember, the lesson you taught us, never surrender. Captain Suman Kim smiled. That is why we need this timeline to join the alliance. You are the origin point, the timeline that first defeated the Vorthok Empire. Your victory created the possibility for all other human timelines to exist. What would joining the alliance mean? Asked Taeho. It means humanity will finally take its place as guardians of reality itself, said Admiral Young-Ho Park. No more hiding, no more running. We build an empire that spans dimensions, dedicated to protecting all life from threats like the Void Emperor. Dr. Sojin Park looked excited. Think of what we could learn. The combined knowledge of thousands of human civilizations. Think of what we could build, added Nari Yang. Ships that can travel between realities. Weapons that can heal damaged timelines. Cities that exist in multiple dimensions at once. Taeho thought of all the people who had died in the war. Admiral Jiwoo Lee, Captain Minho Shin, Captain Yoon Soo-ro, and so many others. They had sacrificed everything so that humanity could have a future. They would want us to keep fighting, he said quietly. They would want us to protect others the way they protected us. Is that a yes? Asked Captain Suman Kim. Taeho looked around at his crew, friends who had stood with him through the darkest times. They all nodded. Contact all human colonies, he ordered. Send word to every ship in the fleet. Humanity is about to become something greater than we ever imagined. What should we tell them? Asked Lieutenant Won-Soo Moon. Taeho smiled as he looked out at the stars. Tell them, the adventure is just beginning. The alliance of human timelines was born, and with it, a new chapter in the greatest story ever told, the story of humanity's refusal to surrender. No matter how impossible the odds, the Void Emperor would learn what his father had learned. Humanity was not just hard to kill, humanity was eternal.